The Grand Intergalactic Zoo was one of the largest in the galaxy. It was a place where beings from hundreds of star systems came to see strange animals, dangerous creatures, and rare life forms. Every species had its own section, but one area was more famous than all others. It was called the Deathworld Predator Exhibit. Every year, millions of aliens visited this exhibit just to feel fear. It housed fire serpents, shadow crawlers, void panthers, and screaming raptors. These were the strongest, fastest, and most deadly predators known to most civilizations. On this day, a young alien kid named Nairu came to the zoo with his family. He had bright blue skin, glowing eyes, and tiny antennae that shook every time he got excited. Today, his antennae were shaking non-stop. The kid ran towards the exhibit while his parents walked slowly behind him. The zoo guide, an older alien named Raxon, waited near the entrance. Raxon had worked here for many years and looked tired, like he had seen too many things he wished he could forget. When the group gathered, Raxon started his explanation in a deep, calm voice. "Welcome," he said. "Inside this exhibit, you will see the most dangerous predators from death worlds across the galaxy. You must follow the rules. Do not touch the glass. Do not make loud noises. And if you see a red flashing light, step away immediately." Most visitors gasped. Some laughed nervously, but the little kid, Nairu, only looked more excited. Raxon opened the doors and the tour began. Inside the exhibit, the air was colder. The lights were dim. Strange growls echoed from behind reinforced glass enclosures. The first creature they saw was a giant fire serpent, its body glowing like burning metal. "This predator can melt steel," Raxon explained. The crowd stepped back. Next was a shadow crawler with 8 legs and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. "This creature can hide in total darkness," Raxon said. Then came a razor beast, covered in sharp bone armor. "This one can break through any cage," he said. The visitors were terrified, but there was one empty enclosure, larger than all the rest. Thick walls, heavy locks, warning signs everywhere. Nairu stopped and pointed at it. "What was inside this one?" the kid asked. Raxon froze. For a moment, he did not speak. He looked at the empty enclosure like it was a ghost, something he never wanted to face again. "This," he finally said, "was meant for the most dangerous predator ever discovered." The crowd leaned in. Nairu's eyes widened. Raxon took a slow breath. "This cage was built for humans." The room fell silent. Some aliens exchanged worried looks. Others stepped back as if the word itself was dangerous. "Humans?" Nairu repeated. "Where are they?" "I want to see one." Raxon shook his head quickly. "No, child, you do not want to see a human." "Why?" Nairu asked. "Are they big? Do they have claws? Do they look scary?" Raxon's voice dropped lower. "No, humans are small, soft, simple-looking. You would not fear their bodies, you would fear their minds." Nairu looked confused. "How can a small creature be the most dangerous?" Raxon moved closer to the cage and pointed at deep claw marks on the steel walls. "This cage was made with triple alloy metal, stronger than anything else in this zoo. Yet the human broke parts of it with hands and tools made from broken pieces." A few visitors gasped. Raxon continued. "Humans do not stop, they do not give up. They learn fast, they adapt, they think in ways we do not understand." Nairu stepped closer. "But where is the human now?" Raxon looked away. "It escaped." The whole group whispered in fear. Escaped? A human? In the zoo? Nairu, however, did not feel fear. He felt excitement. "How did it escape?" he asked. Raxon answered slowly, choosing his words carefully. "The human was captured during a research mission. It was supposed to be a simple study. But humans do not like cages. They watched the guards. They studied the locks. They learned the patterns. And when the time was right, they walked out." Nairu blinked. "Just like that? Without weapons?" Raxon nodded. "Yes, without weapons. They made tools from scraps. They used sharp stones, they tricked machines, they turned other predators loose to create chaos." Suddenly the lights flickered. The visitors jumped. A deep alarm tone echoed through the exhibit. Beep, beep, beep. Red lights flashed above them. Raxon's face turned pale. "No, this cannot be right," he whispered. Nairu grabbed his hand. "What is happening?" Raxon looked at the ceiling, fear growing in his eyes. "The sensors. They detected movement in the restricted tunnels." Nairu looked excited again. "Is it the human?" Raxon swallowed hard. The human was believed to have left the zoo long ago, but now... He looked at the empty human enclosure. Fresh dust moved on the floor. A mark appeared on the glass. A handprint. Still warm. Raxon stepped back. "Everyone stay calm. Something is inside the exhibit." Nairu smiled. "Maybe," he whispered. The human came back. The alarm wouldn't stop. A screaming pulse echoing through the dark tunnels of the Deathworld Predator Exhibit. Red emergency lights bathed the walls in a panicked glow. Visitors stampeded for the exits, but a young one, Nairu, stood frozen, his eyes fixed on a fresh handprint on the glass of the human enclosure. An older alien, Raxon, pulled the kid back. "Stay behind me," he said, his voice shaking. Nairu's antennae twitched, not with fear but with pure excitement. "Is it really the human?" he asked, his voice filled with curiosity. Raxon's eyes darted down the corridor. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it shouldn't be here." The alarm shifted, becoming louder, sharper, more urgent. A robotic voice announced, "Unauthorized movement detected in Tunnel Sector 7. Security units dispatched." The crowd screamed again and surged away. Raxon grabbed Nairu, hurrying toward the emergency shelter, but the kid kept looking over his shoulder, scanning every shadow. The tunnel ahead grew darker, as if the lights were being shut down one by one. "That's not a normal malfunction," Raxon muttered. Just then, a blur of motion zipped across the ceiling above them. Raxon instinctively crouched, shielding the kid. The shape vanished before anyone could get a good look. Nairu's voice trembled with a strange excitement. "I saw something. It was small and so fast." Raxon swallowed hard. "That's exactly why humans are feared. They move in silence. They climb walls. They think ahead of everyone." "But it didn't attack," Nairu said innocently. "Not yet," Raxon replied. Two armed security drones hovered down the hallway, their blue scanning lights sweeping across the floor. "Scanning for heat signature," one droned. Silence, no movement. Then one of the drones twitched. Its optical sensor flickered. Its lights dimmed, and it dropped to the floor, completely dead. Raxon gasped. How? How did a human disable a military-grade drone so fast? Nairu pointed at the drone's back. "Look, something is attached to it." It was a small metal piece clearly made from scrap with wires wrapped crudely around it. "A handmade EMP device," Nairu whispered with awe. "The human made this from junk?" Raxon nodded slowly. "Humans can turn anything into a tool. That's why they're so dangerous." Before he could finish, the second drone suddenly spun around violently, as if seized by invisible hands, and crashed into the wall. Sparks flew, and then silence. Raxon grabbed Nairu's wrist. "We have to leave. Now!" But Nairu shook his head, his gaze firm. "No, I want to see it." Raxon stared, a mix of fear and disbelief in his eyes. "You want to see a human?" "Yes," Nairu said. "I want to know why everyone is so scared of them." They moved deeper into the tunnels. The alarms faded, replaced by the distant roars of caged animals reacting to the chaos. Some cages shook violently, while others had fallen eerily silent. Raxon slowed his steps. "The human is using the animals as a distraction. They understand behavior. They know how predators think." They found a patch of mud near a broken pipe. In it were footprints. Human footprints, small, bare, and fresh. Nairu crouched beside them. "They look so normal." Raxon shook his head. "Don't trust your eyes, child. Humans look simple, but inside they are storms." A faint sound came from further ahead. Drip, drip, drip. Raxon raised a hand, signaling for silence. Something was breathing, slow, controlled, and hidden. "They're close," Raxon whispered. The kid's eyes widened with excitement. Suddenly, a silhouette appeared at the far end of the hall. A small shape, barely visible. Not large like the other predators. Not monstrous, just human. It stood perfectly still, watching them, waiting. Raxon's heart pounded. Nairu took a slight step forward. The human figure tilted its head, studying them. For a moment, everything was silent. Even the distant alarms stopped. The entire zoo seemed to hold its breath. Then the silhouette vanished, gone, as if it had simply melted into the darkness. Nairu gasped. "How do they move so fast?" Raxon answered, his voice trembling. "They think faster. They act faster. They plan 5 steps ahead of everyone else." As they ventured on, they found more signs. A disabled security camera, a broken lock, a map of the facility drawn on the wall with charcoal, a makeshift water bottle fashioned from plastic scraps, tracks of animals that had been strategically freed to block paths. "This is all planned," Raxon said, his voice low. "He isn't just escaping, he's preparing something." Nairu's eyes shone. "Maybe he just wants to go home?" Raxon shook his head. "No, if he wanted to escape, he would have been gone days ago." "Then what is he doing?" Nairu asked. Raxon stared at the markings on the wall again. It wasn't just a map, it was a pattern, a warning, a message. "He's not running from something," Raxon whispered, a chilling realization dawning on him. "He's preparing to fight something." Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed from above. Giant mechanical steps. Boom, boom, boom. Raxon looked up, pure terror spreading across his face. "That's not human. That is something much worse." The ceiling shook, and dust rained down. A large metallic shadow passed over a grate in the ceiling. Raxon whispered, "The hunters. They've returned." Nairu blinked. "Hunters?" "Yes," Raxon said, his voice grim. "They come for humans, they want to capture them, and the human knows they are coming." He looked down the dark tunnel where the human had disappeared. "He isn't just escaping a cage, he's preparing the battlefield." The hunter's heavy footsteps faded for a moment, but I knew they were still close. The tunnel trembled after each metallic step, and small pieces of ceiling dust fell like silent warnings. The zoo had become a battlefield, and the human was the only one who truly understood it. Nairu clutched my arm, his voice shaking now, fear finally entering his eyes. "Why are the hunters here?" I swallowed hard. "They capture humans. They experiment on them. They want their secrets, strength, intelligence, adaptability. Humans fight back, and the hunters hate that." The tunnel lights flickered again, and then everything went dark, pure black. Nairu gasped, "I can't see anything." I tried to stay calm. "Stay close. Do not move fast." The human might have cut the power lines, trying to slow the hunters. But there was another reason. Humans could still function in darkness. Other species could not. A faint sound echoed, metal scraping stone. Shh. Slide. Clink. Nairu whispered, "Is that the human?" "No," I said quietly. "That's a trap." A sharp cracking noise followed. Something heavy dropped. Sparks flickered briefly, lighting the tunnel for a second. And in that second, we saw it. A massive hunter unit collapsed on the floor, caught in a steel wire snare. It struggled, roaring and slamming its metallic arms against the walls, but the human's trap held firm. Nairu's mouth opened in awe. "The human caught that? But it's so big." I nodded. "Yes, they are small, but they understand pressure points, balance, timing. Humans think in ways we fear." The hunter unit tried to stand but slipped on oil spread across the floor. It fell again, this time its arm breaking with a loud crack. Nairu whispered. "He used the zoo supplies, soil, steel wires, he planned everything." I murmured. "That is why humans escape every prison." Suddenly something fast moved behind us, silent as a shadow. I spun around. Nairu looked up. The human was there, just for a moment. A small figure wrapped in pieces of torn zoo fabric like camouflage. Skin dirty, eyes sharp, hair messy, posture alert. He held a curved, handmade metal tool, dangerous in the right hands. The human stared at us, not with hate, not with fear, but with calculation. Then he raised one finger to his lips, a silent command, and pointed toward the deeper tunnels. Without a sound, he disappeared again, melting into the darkness. Nairu whispered, amazed. "How does he move like that?" I answered, "Humans move with purpose. They waste no energy, they study everything, even us." As we continued deeper, we discovered more improvised tools. A piece of cage bar sharpened to a blade, a rope made of woven clothing, a torch made from broken pipes and chemical gel. Everything was handmade. Everything had a purpose. Everything showed a mind working at high speed under pressure. I realized something important. The human is not just surviving, I whispered. He is controlling the battlefield. Nairu tilted his head. Why? I hesitated. Because something dangerous is coming soon. He is preparing defenses. A deep roar suddenly echoed through the tunnel. A roar unlike any other, not animal, not mechanical. Not something in between. Nairu's heart beat faster. What was that? I shook my head. I do not know, but it is big. The tunnel rumbled. Lights flickered. Stone dust fell like rain. I pulled Nairu back. We must hide. We crouched behind a broken metal crate as a massive creature passed. The zoo's largest predator. A fog drake, freed from its cage. Its glowing eyes scanned the area, confused, but calm. Nairu whispered, "Did the human free it?" "Yes," I said. "He freed many animals, not to harm them, but to slow the hunters. The animals become unpredictable obstacles." The fog drake moved away, leaving a trail of cold mist. We then found a secret chamber the human had created. It was filled with tools, stolen data cards, diagrams of hunter ships, maps of the zoo, and a list of their weak points. I touched the wall drawings. "These are battle plans." Nairu's eyes widened. "He is fighting them alone." I nodded. He has no choice. Humans fight even when they are alone. Then we found something surprising. A small bottle of water with a note scratched on the wall. "Safe for aliens, do not drink, for dehydration only." Nairu smiled. He is careful. He did not want to hurt others. I felt conflicted. Everything I had been told about humans, dangerous, wild, violent, did not match the signs here. This human planned. He prepared. He protected the innocent. Yet he was still terrifying. A sudden metallic crash came from the far corridor. The hunters were breaking through the traps. Boom, boom, boom. The human appeared again, closer this time, stepping into the dim emergency glow. He looked at me, then at Nairu. He pointed to a metal ladder leading upward. The message was clear. Go. Escape. But Nairu stepped forward, bold. "Why are you fighting them?" The human stared and finally spoke a single word, his voice rough. "Freedom." Then he turned and sprinted toward the hunter machines. I grabbed Nairu. "We must go. Now." But he resisted. "He is fighting alone," I answered with trembling fear. "He prefers it this way. Humans carry storms inside them. When they decide to fight, nothing can stop them." Behind us, sparks filled the air. Metal clashed. The human charged toward enemies far bigger than him, and he did not hesitate. The tunnel shook again, explosions echoing in the distance as the hunters tore through the human's traps, one by one. My companion Nairu and I were scrambling up the metal ladder the human had shown us. But neither of us could shake the image of that small figure fighting alone in the darkness. When we reached the upper level, the lights were dim, flickering like dying stars. Red emergency sirens flashed, and a robotic voice repeated, "Evacuate immediately. Unstable activity detected." But the halls were eerily empty. No guards, no workers, no other visitors. Everyone had already fled. I pulled Nairu along, searching for a safe corner, but the kid kept glancing back at the tunnel. "Raxon, why did the human tell us to leave? Why didn't he ask for help?" I sighed, my voice heavy. "Humans don't like risking others. They carry their fights alone." Nairu argued back. But he's one and the hunters are many. That's why he needs help. I shook my head. Humans fight even when the odds are against them. They don't surrender. It's their greatest strength and their greatest weakness. Suddenly the building trembled with a different sound. A low humming, a deep rumbling that vibrated through the walls. Nairu looked up. What is that? My antennae flattened in fear. That sound. It's not from the zoo. A deep shadow passed over the reinforced windows. The emergency lights shifted from red to blue, then to purple. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. And then, a new announcement cut through the sirens. Unknown ship detected entering atmosphere. Nairu's mouth fell open. A ship? Here? I whispered. The hunters have brought reinforcements. I rushed to the nearest window. Hovering above the zoo was a massive warship, larger than anything Nairu had ever seen. Metal wings extended like claws and energy pulses glowed under its hull. It blocked out the sun, plunging the zoo into a grim twilight. Nairu gasped. They came to take the human back? I nodded grimly. They think they own humans. They consider them too valuable, too useful. Useful for what? Nairu asked. I hesitated. For war. Nairu's eyes widened. They want humans to fight for them? No, I said darkly. They want to break humans, control them, use them as living weapons. Nairu sat silently, the terrible truth sinking in. Is that why humans escaped from this zoo before? I nodded. Years ago, the hunters tried to recapture freed humans. One came here for shelter, but even the zoo couldn't keep him safe. He fought them alone, defeated many, but they eventually captured him. Nairu frowned. Did he escape? I looked away. No one knows, but this human, Nairu said softly, he feels different. I agreed. Yes, this one is prepared. He's been planning, waiting. As if on cue, the zoo's entire power grid roared back to life. Lights blazed bright white. Emergency gates slammed shut. Steel barriers shot up from the ground and defense drones activated. But something was wrong. The system wasn't fighting the human. It was working with him. My eyes widened in realization. He hacked the zoo's mainframe. Nairu smiled in awe. He turned the zoo into his shield. Metal gates shifted, blocking the hunters' paths. Drones targeted incoming units. Sprinkler systems released smoke to hide movement. Every tool, every machine, every lock was now on the human side. A loud crash echoed as a hunter squad finally broke through a gate. We watched from behind a pillar as the tall, armored creatures marched forward. But the human moved faster. He dropped silently from a ceiling beam behind them. With a quick motion, he sliced the wires on a hunter's leg, causing it to collapse. Before it could rise, he disabled another, grabbing its weapon and turning it against the rest. Explosions rocked the hall. Nairu whispered, "He fights like he's trained all his life." I nodded. Every human is a survivor. Then, the warship above released something. A heavy, armored pod crashed into the center of the zoo, shaking the ground. Smoke and dust filled the air. What now? Nairu clutched my arm. I closed my eyes. They've brought a leader, a commander. The pod hissed open. A massive hunter stepped out, 3 times bigger than the others, its armor thick, its eyes burning bright red. The human stood at the opposite end of the hall, looking so small in comparison. Nairu whispered, "He's so tiny." I replied, "Don't look at size. Humans are storms in small bodies." The hunter commander roared and charged. The human didn't run. He stood his ground, then jumped aside with perfect timing. The commander smashed into a wall, breaking stone and metal. The human used that brief moment to strike at weak spots. Joints, exposed wiring, energy coils. Sparks flew. The commander roared in pain and fury. The human glanced back at us for a split second, and in his eyes, I saw it all. He wasn't fighting to escape. He was fighting to protect us. The fight for the zoo and for us had just begun. The alien council chamber was packed. Lights pulsed across the towering crystal walls, reflecting off the faces of beings from 100 different worlds. There were aliens with blue skin, green fur, shimmering wings, and hardened shells. And despite their differences, they all sat in fear, whispering the same dreaded word: human. Zartek walked into the hall, the translator on my neck glowing softly. My legs trembled slightly. I'd never seen so many powerful leaders in one place. As one, their eyes turned to me, hungry for answers. The High Warden, a massive insectoid creature with golden plates across his chest, spoke first. His voice boomed, "Zartek, tell us again. You saw a human at the zoo, a living, breathing human?" I nodded slowly, and a wave of gasps rippled through the crowd. A slender, bird-like alien whispered, "Impossible. Humans don't go to peaceful places. They go to war zones, disaster sites, never a zoo." Another added, "A live human is a chaotic variable. Why was it calm? Why didn't it attack?" I raised my hands to quiet them. "I don't know. But the human said something strange. It said it wasn't dangerous, unless someone tried to harm me." The entire chamber froze. The High Warden's eyes widened in disbelief. "It claimed you as its protection target?" I swallowed hard and nodded again. My voice shook as I continued. "And then, the floor began to vibrate. Something huge was coming. The lights flickered. A round, floating alien with glowing rings around its head asked, 'Was that the human's machine?' 'Yes,' I said. It felt like the ground itself was taking a breath. Far away, deep in the zoo's underground tunnels, red alarms flashed. Warning, human presence detected. Level 9 security alert activated. Robotic guards swarmed into the corridors as screens displayed a new message. Protective mode active. VIP detected. The human, still walking calmly, stretched his back and adjusted his pack. He muttered to himself. "This place is too quiet. Did I cause some trouble?" He smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator before the hunt. The kind that says, "I am not scared. You should be." He looked directly at a security camera and gave a little wave. "Don't worry," he said, his voice low. "I'm not here to hunt, unless someone hurts the kid." Back in the council hall, chaos erupted. "We must move the zoo. Evacuate all visitors. This could be an invasion. No, it might be a rescue mission." "Rescue from what?" Voices tangled in the air until the High Warden slammed a heavy claw on the table. "Silence!" Everyone froze. He leaned forward, his gaze fixed on me. "Zartek, you said the human appeared calm. No weapons?" I hesitated. "No visible weapons, High Warden." The warden frowned. "Humans never need visible weapons. Their bodies are the weapons." A nervous hum filled the hall. He continued, "If a human declares it will protect someone, it means that someone is in grave danger." I blinked. But who would attack me? Just then the chamber doors burst open. A messenger sprinted in, gasping for breath. "Warden! Something massive is moving under the zoo. Our scanners don't recognize it. It's hot, fast, and it's focusing on a single target." "What target?" the warden demanded. The messenger trembled. "Zartek." Every head in the room turned back to me. My heart pounded against my ribs. "Me? Why? I didn't do anything." The warden stood tall. "Something is coming. Something powerful enough to trigger a human's protective instincts." "What did you encounter earlier? Did anything threaten you?" I searched my memory. There was a shadow in the Deathworld Predator Exhibit. I thought it was just part of the display. The warden's voice shook. "Describe it." It had glowing red eyes and the shape of a giant beast. I felt heat from its breath. The chamber exploded again. "That was real! You interacted with it?" I felt sweat trickle down my forehead. I thought it was fake." The High Warden's face turned pale. "If that creature is loose and a human has activated protection mode, we are all in extreme danger." A sudden boom shook the entire hall, and dust rained from the ceiling. Another boom, followed by a deep, powerful rumble. It was coming from below, growing louder, closer. "He's coming," a nervous elder whispered. "Who?" I asked. my voice barely a whisper. The elder replied, "The human, or the thing the human is fighting." The High Warden stared at me with pure fear. "You are now the center of this crisis." Bang, boom! The sounds echoed like thunder. My legs gave out and I nearly fell. What is the human going to do?" The High Warden whispered, his voice grim. "Pray it's here for you, and not for all of us." Deep underground, the human cracked his knuckles and smiled that predator's smile again. "So, something wants the kid." He looked down the dark, rumbling tunnel. "Fine, let's dance." His eyes began to glow faintly. Not with anger, not with fear. It was pure, predatory focus. And then he ran, faster than any machine could track, straight into the darkness, straight toward the danger. The ground roared again. Dust rained down from the ceiling of the alien council hall. Everyone exchanged wide, frightened glances. Zartek's heart pounded in his chest, so fast he could barely breathe. "What is happening?" he whispered. The High Warden stared at the vibrating floor. "A conflict below us. Something strong enough to challenge a human." Just then, the chamber lights flashed red. An automated voice blared, "Alert, structural damage detected, please evacuate." Panic erupted. Aliens screamed and scrambled for the exits. The room became a storm of flapping wings, shoving tentacles and stomping metal feet. But Zartek stood frozen. His thoughts raced. If something dangerous is chasing me, why? What did I do? Who sent it? The warden grabbed Zartek's shoulder. "Come, we must move." But before they could run, the floor cracked, thin lines spreading like ice. A heavy, rhythmic thump echoed from beneath. "Too late," the warden whispered. Deep underground, the human sprinted through a dark tunnel. Emergency lights flickered, sensors struggling to track his impossibly fast movements. He moved like an apex predator hunting another apex predator, focused, silent, efficient. His footsteps echoed in a steady beat. Up ahead, something big was breathing heavily. A deep growl rumbled through the tunnel, followed by waves of intense heat and the smell of burning stone. He slowed to a walk. "Come out," he said calmly. In the darkness, two huge red eyes opened, unblinking. "You stand between me and my target," a rumbling voice replied. The human allowed a small smile. "The kid? You're after him?" "Yes," the creature growled. "He carries something important." "What?" the human asked. Only silence and heavy breathing answered him. Then the beast stepped into the light. It was massive, forced to hunch under the tunnel's high ceiling. Its skin looked like molten rock with flames glowing between the cracks. Long claws scraped the floor, carving deep grooves. Its fiery tail whipped through the air. The human let out a slow breath. "Okay, you're not fake. That helps." The beast growled again. "Move or burn." The human cracked his neck. "No." The creature roared and charged. The tunnel shook, walls cracking and the ground splitting open. But the human was faster. He slid under the beast's claws, grabbed its arm, and twisted. Hard. A loud crack echoed through the tunnel. The beast screamed in pain and fury, then swung its massive tail. The human jumped but was clipped mid-air, sent flying into the wall with enough force to shatter stone. He stood up slowly, brushing dust from his clothes. "Okay," he said. "That hurt. Let's stop with the warnings." The beast lunged again, each step an earthquake. The human met the attack head-on and threw a single punch. The impact exploded like thunder, sending a shockwave down the tunnel. Flames burst from the beast's jaw, filling the air with smoke. But when it cleared, the beast was still standing. It smiled. "Good, a worthy enemy." The human sighed. "This is gonna take a minute." Above, in the council hall, the cracks were spreading faster. "The beast is drilling upward. It's coming through the floors," an officer shouted. The warden replied, "The human is fighting it, but the creature is enormous." Zartek shook his head, his voice trembling. "Why me? Why does that thing want me?" The warden looked at him intently. "There is something you carry. Something ancient. Did you touch an artifact? Activate something?" Zartek searched his memories. Then it hit him. The stone. A small, glowing stone he'd found in the zoo's Predator Exhibit, hidden under a display rock. He'd thought it looked cool and slipped it into his pocket. He nervously touched his pocket now. It felt hot. Too hot. He slowly pulled it out. The stone pulsed like a tiny star, bright and alive. The warden gasped. "That is a Deathworld core fragment." "Core... fragment?" Zartek repeated, confused. The warden's voice was strained. "It is worth enough to start wars or end them." Zartek stared at the stone in horror. "I didn't know." A deafening crack thundered beneath them. The floor bulged upward. "The beast wants this?" Zartek asked. "Yes," the warden whispered, "and it will destroy everything to get it." Down in the tunnels, the human wiped sweat from his forehead. The beast circled him, flames licking its rocky hide. "Why do you protect the child?" it asked. The human just shrugged. "Because I want to." "Is he special?" "Yes." "Why?" The human smiled faintly. "He picked up something he shouldn't have." The beast paused. "The fragment?" "Exactly." A tense silence fell. "Will you surrender the boy to me?" The answer was instant. "Never." The beast roared so loudly the tunnel shook like it would collapse. "You protect the weak. Why?" The human stepped forward. "Because humans do that." And then he attacked. Full power. Both combatants moved faster than the eye could follow. Flames and shock waves lit the tunnels like exploding stars. The fight raged, tearing through the facility's lower levels. The beast slammed the human through a wall, but he twisted and landed on his feet. It tried to incinerate him with a torrent of fire, but the human charged right through it, unafraid. He punched, kicked, and dodged, his focus absolute. With a final, desperate howl, the beast launched one last attack, and a massive blow sent both of them crashing upward, straight toward the council hall. Zartek clutched the glowing fragment as the floor beneath him bulged violently. "Get back!" the warden screamed. A hole tore open in the floor, and out of the exploding debris, two shapes shot upward. The beast and the human, both roaring, both burning with power, and they landed right in front of Zartek. The council chamber exploded into chaos. Dust filled the air. Lights flickered wildly and alarms screamed. Aliens ran in every direction, tripping over each other in sheer panic. Some scrambled under tables, others flew straight into walls. And in the center of the room stood the human and the beast. Both were injured. Both looked dangerous. The beast's molten skin dripped liquid fire onto the floor, each drop burning clean holes through the metal tiles. Its red eyes glowed with a hungry fury. Its claws scraped the ground like blades. The human stood straight, breathing heavily but still calm. His fists were bruised and smoking, heat waves rising from his body. His shirt was torn, his hair messy, but his eyes were sharp, focused, and unshaken. He turned his head toward Zartek, a young alien clutching a glowing fragment against his chest. "Kid," the human said, his voice steady. "Stay behind me." Zartek nodded, trembling. The beast let out a deep growl, vibrating the entire hall. "Give me the fragment, and this ends." The warden shouted back, "It belongs to the council. You cannot take—" But the beast roared, cutting him off with a powerful shockwave that pushed everyone aside like leaves in a storm. Then, it faced the human again. "We end this now. You cannot protect him, not forever." The human just cracked his knuckles. "Let's find out." The beast struck first. A flaming claw slashed across the hall. The human dodged, rolling to the side as the claw ripped through the council wall, melting metal like wax. Smoke exploded outward. The human rushed forward, punching the beast square in the chest. Shockwaves ripped through the air like thunder, and cracks spread across its molten skin. It roared in pain and anger. "You will fail, human." "You talk too much," the human replied. The beast's tail whipped around. The human ducked, but the tail still grazed him, throwing him across the hall. He crashed into a pillar, stone cracking under the impact. Zartek gasped. "He fell. He's hurt." But the human stood again, slowly but steadily. He wiped blood from his lip. "Still here." The beast charged, flames bursting around it, the floor melting beneath its steps. In a stunning move, the human sprinted straight toward it. They collided. The impact shook the building to its foundations. Alien windows shattered. Ceiling beams broke. The floor cracked open. The human grabbed the beast's arm, twisting with all his strength. The beast screamed as steam erupted from its molten joints. The human then jumped high, landing a kick across the beast's face. The creature crashed into the far wall, its molten cracks glowing brighter. The human landed lightly, eyes sharp. "This ends now." The beast laughed, a deep volcanic sound. "You cannot kill me. I am fire, I am heat, I am—" The human didn't wait. He leaped forward and punched the beast again. Hard. Then again. And again. His fists moved like lightning, fast, relentless, precise. Each hit created shockwaves, shaking the chamber. The beast tried to block, but the human's speed was overwhelming. Finally, the human spun and delivered one final blow to the beast's chest. The chamber went silent. Then, boom! A burst of fire exploded outward, blinding everyone. The beast's body cracked, then shattered like molten glass. It fell to one knee. "You are strong," it said weakly. The human exhaled. "Thanks. But the fragment belongs to my masters." The beast lifted its head, its red eyes fading. Its body cooled, and with a final shake it collapsed, turning into a pile of ash and stone. The fight was over, or so they thought. The ash scattered, and something strange happened. A glowing shape formed inside the pile. A symbol, a mark, a signal. The warden gasped. "Transmission. It is sending a message." Zartek clutched the fragment tighter. "To who?" The warden's voice trembled. "To something bigger. To something worse. To the ones who want the fragment more than this beast." The human frowned. "Great. So this was just the scout." The ground rumbled again. Zartek's eyes widened in fear. "More creatures are coming?" The human nodded slowly. "Yes, and bigger ones." The council hall lights turned red as a system voice blared. "Galactic warning. Unidentified forces approaching. Threat level Omega. Evacuate immediately." Aliens screamed again, running for the exits. The human picked up Zartek and placed him behind a broken pillar. "Listen," he said. "The fragment is dangerous. Many will come for it. You need to stay alive." Zartek swallowed hard. "But why me? Why did I find it?" The human looked directly at him. "Because it wanted you to find it." Zartek went pale. "What does that mean?" The human's voice grew serious. "You didn't pick up the fragment. The fragment picked you." A deep rumble echoed from outside. The sky darkened. The building shook violently. Zartek whispered, "What is coming now?" The human stepped forward, his eyes glowing with determination. "The real enemy," he said softly. Then he smiled, a tired but fearless smile. Part 1 was the warm-up. Outside the shattered walls, shadows formed in the sky. Large, moving, hungry, more than one, more than 10, hundreds, millions, a full swarm. The human stood ready. The fragment pulsed in Zartek's hands. The warden whispered, "We are doomed." But the human said, "No, not yet." Thanks for watching. If you want to see what happens next in this epic saga, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss part 2. See you in the next one.